Good to have you along here, 3 and Out on this Friday afternoon. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop. Glad you are with us. Thanks for making us a part of your day. We are streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com on your mobile device with the ESPN app, also live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And Ben, glad you are with us here on this Friday. A lot to get to, from the NBA draft to the trade deadline, which is coming up in just under an hour now in Major League Baseball. And, of course, Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC now officially. We'll chat with Bo Scaife, who played football with you at the Tennessee Titans, also is a former Texas Longhorn tight end. So we'll talk to him about leaving the Big 12 and going officially now to the SEC. So look forward to talking with him coming up here on the show. But Ben, as I mentioned, we are just inside 1 hour left to go in the trade deadline. Braves coming off taking 3 out of 5 from the New York Mets, 4 games out. And the Braves have made a couple of moves today. They got Eddie Rosario, an outfielder, currently on the IL from Cleveland, but he's batting like .250, a couple of homers, I think 7 triples here in 2021. Got rid of Pablo Sandoval, who I don't think literally has touched a baseball in about a month and a half. And you get Adam Duvall from the Marlins for Alex Jackson. So you get rid of a player on your active roster that really couldn't play every day, couldn't play in the field really, gave you 1 at-bat a day and wasn't really doing that. And you get rid of Alex Jackson, who's a backup catcher probably at best in your estimation, has been at AAA most of the season and probably not in your long-term plans. Anyway, so you got rid of 2 players who you didn't deem had a whole lot of value, and you got Adam Duvall and Eddie Rosario to help remake your outfield. Adam Duvall's got some pop, gives you a better look in the lineup, and again, maybe not done, but Alex Anthopoulos, I think, making good moves and not giving up a whole lot to try to make the team better.
That's kind of been his mantra, right, Kevin? Since he's been there, be able to build a team through that farm system. The guys, everybody he's called up, seemingly has done well, and the one thing about the trade deadline is you're thinking about your present and your future. I don't want to do something, in a 48-hour span that could definitely hurt the team. I mean, something, Kevin, me and you talked about too, that Marcell Ozuna situation is still looming. We don't know what's going to happen with that, but the Braves made this decision a lot easier on Alex Anthopoulos because they are playing well. With no Mike Soroka, no Ronald Acuna Jr. Huascar Noah's got it. When is he going to be back? And to still be 4 games out, I know the Mets are, they kind of like moving guys around as well, because no matter what, you're always trying to get better while not having to spend a lot of money to do it. I don't think nobody has done that better than the Braves. I mean, the Dodgers and the Yankees, I think I guess they must just pay those taxes or whatever. They don't care. Forget the bylaws, forget the rules. We're going to get whoever we want. But no, Alex Anthopoulos, look, as you mentioned, you're going to have to what we were saying, were they going to get another bat? Were they going to get a reliever? They went, obviously, with the outfield. Austin Riley playing well at third is helping. You're getting a lot of quality help, so you didn't have to go out. Everybody wants that splash player. Everybody wants, did you see who the Braves got? But I think when you look at the totality of what the Braves are doing right now, Alex Anthopoulos is a guy who definitely understands that the Braves got to continue to they are continuing to stay competitive. The season's still in front of them, Kevin. And dare I say, I know it's on the trade deadline. We still got a little less than 50 minutes left. Before the trade deadline is over. If the Braves find a way to win the NL East this year with everything that they've done, forget the fact. I mean, Snit got to be up for Manager of the Year, and Alex Anthopoulos got to be up for GM of the Year if something like that does indeed happen.
Yeah, and we'll see what the Braves have left. The Nationals have been big sellers, so they obviously are not going to stay in it. You get rid of your ace in Max Scherzer. You've also gone out there, have the Nationals. They got rid of Trey Turner, a big part of their team. Kyle Schwarber, who's been a big part. Yan Gomes, one of their good young catchers. So they are dumping in a big way. It's really now the Braves, Phillies, and Mets moving forward. The Phillies and Mets both appear to be on the verge of some good pitching deals here. Ian Kennedy looks like from the Rangers headed to the Phillies, and the Mets apparently in some late day moves here to bolster their baseball team. Maybe a Javier Baez for the Cubs. So we'll see what happens here at the trade deadline. But the East at the top making moves to win, and at the bottom, the Nationals are kind of throwing in the towel on it there as well. So we'll continue to watch that trade deadline. Braves and Brewers this weekend. we'll see what the Braves can do there. But Ben, obviously today, the SEC officially extended that invite. I mean, you see it's nothing but love now, right? I mean, you go on the internet. I just saw Texas A&M's official accounts like, hey, it's a new day, and it just means even more. Like, okay, that's probably not what they were saying yesterday in those meetings, but I think you've seen some of the SEC accounts. One of them put out the Bruce Willis, welcome to the party, pal, meme from Die Hard. So 14-0, as if there was ever going to be any kind of guess that it wasn't going to be unanimous. The SEC, at least for now, going to 16 teams in 2025. At least that's what the paper says now. Wouldn't be surprised if it's sooner than that. But legally, that's what we're looking at right now. 2 more teams coming in 2025.
Kevin, if you think it's going to be 4 years from now before Texas, before that ink even dry, Texas and Oklahoma got recruited. They get to know what it's like to be recruited by the SEC. How do they get recruited? Hey, man, y'all want to come or not? I mean, what are they going to do? Say no? And I think the 14 to 0, unanimous vote in, it shows a lot about the politics of college football. Greg Sankey is the most powerful man in college football. Nick Saban is the best coach in college football. You got, outside of what, maybe Coach Day at Ohio State and maybe Coach Harbaugh at Michigan, you got the highest paid coaches in college football now in the same division. And for me, Kevin, look, I know that Oklahoma and Texas probably saying, whew. Now I know behind the scenes they were saying that ESPN was paying Longhorn Network a lot of money. But I think that when you look at down the line you look at how much, with these TV deals, I don't know how long they're going through, but could you imagine when it's time to renegotiate and now you're talking about Texas and Oklahoma added to it? So the star power is going to be incredible. I know we were talking about something about those rivalry games, but now SEC fans are actually going to watch the Red River rivalry. I don't know. Right now it's still in Oklahoma and Texas. How soon does that become in Atlanta? Like, in the SEC now, we kind of want our viewers. What are they going to do? Say no? So, yeah. Or could it potentially be in Jerry's world? I don't know. But, hey, Texas A&M, like you said, if Texas A&M is welcoming Texas, you really, really think Greg Sankey, where was Greg Sankey at? On his phone, his locator said he was in College Station. I'm just saying he was over there looking at the AD saying, you will not mess this up. I don't care how you feel. Go out there and shake hands, because that's what we signed up for, though, Kevin, right? Like, hey, man, I signed up to be the head coach. I signed Jimbo Fisher. No, you signed up to be a part of the SEC first. Then you signed over. So, but yeah, the SEC is only getting stronger. I can't stand that it just means more. Oh my God. That's all you're gonna hear. But it's great marketing. It's great for recruiting, and I'm willing to see how many players of the top 300 coming out of Florida, Georgia, Texas, and California going to be going to these schools, because Bryce Young, DJU, what's the other guy? JT Daniels, California kids. They play in the South. That's probably going to be even more of a theme now. But, hey, man, Texas, Oklahoma, they in. And now we're going to be hollering at Boske, former Texas Longhorn, to say, hey, tell us about some of that Texas swag that's about to come on over here to the SEC.
Well, and again, it says 2025 on the paper, but you read all the stuff that the Big 12 was throwing out there about, ESPN's trying to get other conferences to take our players, our schools. Obviously the Big 12, if you're going to go after ESPN, you better hope you have a deal with Fox, because obviously they're not going to work with you if you're going to do that. I know there's language out there that says, if the Big 12 becomes insolvent, that they go below X number of members, that maybe the buyouts go away. So there's a financial reason for some of that. All the other schools are kind of hunting around going, this thing ain't going to last. So I'm interested to see how quickly this falls apart for the Big 12, because if you told Oklahoma and Texas they could leave today, they would. Yep. They would go ahead and be out. A lot of people say maybe it'll be next year. Maybe you can get those schedules in place in order to do that quickly. But look, there's no way this thing's making it to 2025. This is a nasty divorce, and usually when you have a nasty divorce, the last thing you want to do is hang around in the same house, right? You just, we just need to get away from each other. It's best for everybody, and I think that's what you're going to end up ultimately seeing happen here with the Big 12. But if you're Texas, I mean, think about this though. If you're Texas and Oklahoma, is there not some pressure for you to go out here in 2021 if this thing keeps going out 2021 and 2022? If you're still in the Big 12, to go out and really have a good season. I mean, if you are 8-4, 7-5. Hey, we're going to be in the ACC. We're going to be in the SEC next year. Oh man, what have we gotten ourselves into? I think you really want to ride that wave of momentum going into the Southeastern Conference now that this has all been made official.
Well, Texas more than Oklahoma, because at least Oklahoma has been in the college football playoff the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, back to back Heisman Trophy winners, back to back number 1 overall picks. I know Sam Ehlinger, Mr. We're back. How did that go? For Texas, they're definitely going to want to have a good showing because, my old head ball coach, Steve Spurrier, he already coming with the jokes. He said, well, Texas might as well come on over. They can't even win the Big 12. They might as well come on over with the prestige. But, yeah, Kevin, I think they do want to have a good showing. The thing about it, Lincoln Riley, he still knows how to coach. Hopefully when Florida plays Oklahoma, it'll be, A team versus A team, not A team versus the B team. But, yeah, Kevin, they're going to want to go out there because – 2025, listen, the SEC in waiting. They do that for nobody. They said it came out, 3 or 4 days ago? Then next thing you know, oh, man, here come Greg Sankey. Next thing you know, it's on social media, unanimous. I mean, and I will say this. I give Greg Sankey got to be the greatest person to hide and go seek and keep his secrets. He was a part of the team that's going to help do 12 teams in the playoff, kept it a secret. And he's been talking to Oklahoma and Texas for a year. Listen, I don't know who, and I mean this. If you ever want somebody to know anything about you and keep it a secret, Greg Sankey is the man. He don't say anything, and he put a lot of pressure on those people around him to not say a word. But yeah, Texas, Oklahoma, go out there, try to go out with a bang because you put the rest of the Big 12 in a pickle. Because if you guys go into the SEC, that means the ACC is saying, well, dude, I mean, Florida, the SEC that took Missouri, Texas A&M, Texas, and Oklahoma from the Big 12. Who we get? TCU, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, going over to the Sun Belt, man. It'd be mullet versus mullet. Because, you know what I'm saying? But no, it's gonna be exciting to see, Kevin, and dare I say, when you start talking about the star power in the SEC, just name recognition, Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, Georgia, Auburn, man, these dudes going to be able to write their own ticket. Greg Sankey, I don't know if he got a new contract, but it's going to be breaking news when he do. He finna get Roger Goodell money with the kind of stuff he's
Well, I mean, if you stop back and think about it, Ben, how much money is he actually going to be presiding over? I know the NFL is just football.
Yeah.
And Greg Sankey's now going to have college basketball with Oklahoma and Texas, who've been pretty solid, both men's and women's, coming into the league. Texas baseball has been very good. Oklahoma softball has been a national championship caliber softball program to go along with like Tennessee and so Alabama and some others in your league. I mean, at the end of the day, you joke about it, but might he be actually presiding over more money and more business and more, revenue than what the NFL is? I mean, and that's not a joke.
He has more relative teams according to what he's overseeing than Roger Goodell does. Like it's not 10, 15 teams in the NFL that's relevant. Like, I mean, think about this. I mean, when you start talking about brands, LSU, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma, these are some of the biggest brands in sports. You can take college out, but think about this, Kevin. What's going on right now? The Olympics. Florida won back-to-back gold medals. Georgia went gold and silver. These are the swim teams, right? So you don't think they're finna eat that? Oh yeah, we global, man. We over there getting gold medals for the USA. Greg Sankey wife is saying, could you get another cell phone, please? I'm tired of people calling me, asking me, it's USC, the Trojans coming over. Who knows?
The young lady that won the gymnastics all around going to Auburn. I think they're fixing to name, image, likeness themselves.
Absolutely.
Go up to some of these young men and women and go, "Where are you living?" "Oh, Coach Saban, he's my neighbor."
My parents live down the street. I bought them a house. What? Yeah. Bryce Young parents can afford to move to Tuscaloosa now. He about to have $1 million. Oh my freaking God!
Hey, Bryce Young might be able to live next to Nick Saban. when it's all said and done. Hey, coach, can I get a ride to school?
Exactly. Hey, coach, man, could you keep it down? I'm trying to watch film, bro. Please.
Exactly. We've got more to come here on 3 and Out. Bo Scaife will join us, former Texas tight end, also played with Ben there for the Tennessee Titans. We'll talk to him about all this move going on and more. Plus the NBA draft. Hawks got a couple of players out of the ACC and SEC respectively. And certainly, despite the draft being last night, LeBron managed to steal the show in the draft. We'll talk about that when we come back. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back. It's 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop here with you. Glad you're making us a part of your day. We'll chat with Bo Scaife coming up here in just a little bit. Ben, and former tight end at the University of Texas, and played with you there with the Tennessee Titans. And we'll get his thoughts on Texas going over to the SEC. But the NBA draft last night, congratulations to Davion Mitchell, number 9 overall to the Sacramento Kings out of Liberty County. Congratulations to that young man. Hawks take Jalen Johnson and Sharif Cooper with their 2 picks in the draft. But Ben, you and I were joking about it. Hey, the NBA probably wanted nothing worse to happen. Hey, it's our draft. Baseball has actually started trying to hype their draft. Obviously, the NFL draft is a full-on experience for the fans. The NBA draft, hey, we got all the families here. Everybody's here. We're getting ready to draft players in like an hour, before the draft even starts. Russell Westbrook's going to the Lakers to join LeBron. And who got drafted again? As you said, it just totally sucked all the air out of the NBA draft last night because there's now a new triumvirate there with LeBron out in LA. And we may have lost Ben there, but yeah, it's LeBron, AD, and Russell Westbrook. Producer Jim's, I think, head exploded a little bit when that.
But Kevin, the thing is, something me and you talk about. I know BJ is our college basketball guru. BJ loves college basketball. BJ get the naming names. We like, is he talking about basketball players or he talking about insurance salesmen? No, these are the guys coming out. These are and the thing is, so think about this. Okay, the NCAA tournament, it was still good last year, but it wasn't a Zion, wasn't a John Morant, wasn't an RJ Barrett. It wasn't an Anthony Davis. It wasn't wasn't players like that. So they was like, hey, dude, we got to going to be going number 1 overall from Oklahoma State. What? Yes. We need something. Here come Woj. Woj was like, hey, Russell Westbrook is going to, breaking news. I like how it starts like this. It's always developing story. What? Are trying to trade for Russ. Wait, what? And then it's always, it's not official. It's not official. So people start going crazy. Then you see it, breaking news. Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell and all these guys. But Kevin, they needed something. I mean, because, and I know that the NFL draft is the best draft. MLB draft, it lasts so long with so many rounds that outside the first round, you got rounds 13, 14, 15. And the thing about basketball, if you don't have a headliner going into the draft saying where are they going to go, it's kind of hard to keep people interested unless you're just an avid, NBA draft fan. But Russell Westbrook going back to LA this time, former UCLA Bruin. Now he's going back to LA to get the matchup with LeBron and AD. I'm excited to see it because Russell Westbrook was a guy that I thought would be a lifer with OKC. Obviously, is on his 3rd team now, about to be his 4th team. How does Russ gel with LeBron? Because Russ is a alpha dog. If you've ever seen one, this dude rolls by the beat of his own drum. But LeBron is LeBron. So I am interested to see, former MVP, 2 former MVPs. Can Russ finally get over the hump and get back or get to in the NBA Finals? But yeah, when it came out, Kevin, I was like, so just imagine you on the NBA, Maria Taylor and Jalen Rose and those guys sitting there going, yeah, we got wait, what? They jumping up. So how crazy is it you go from let's talk about all these players to okay, the bets had to come. How many times are they gonna say Russ Westbrook within like a 1 hour span? But Russell Westbrook headed to LA, LeBron, AD, Showtime is back. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, Kevin, I mean, if you the NBA, you love it. But if you the NBA draft coverage, you like, I mean, dude, like what? Hey man, we gotta adjust. So it became Russell Westbrook, 1.0, or Russell Westbrook 101 yesterday all day. But hey, man, because I couldn't tell you outside of that. I mean, obviously, old Trey Man, old Florida Gator Navigator went 18 overall. But no, it's the NBA draft. If BJ was on the show right now, BJ go, guys, what do you mean? BJ started throwing these names out there. Come on, man. Until they become household, if you're not a household name in college, and as Kevin Thomas said, if you're not a lottery pick, it ain't gonna be much to talk about. I mean, I know guys are shaking hands. The 48th overall pick, the 48th, that's the second round, man. Boy, you better learn how to shoot that thing, because I saw guys getting drafted yesterday. But hey, man, shout out to Russ. Shout out to every player that got drafted. Yes, I know you got the young man from Liberty County going number 9 overall. So local products still finding their way to make their NBA dreams come true.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you talk about the creation of these kind of super squads, and I know LeBron had it with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. Talk about what he's doing now with LA, kind of assembling a team. Well, it sounds like he's like LeBron's like, I want this guy. That's what we're going to do. How do you think that impacts? I know we'll talk about this later, but just quickly, when you talk about LeBron, even at this stage of his career, basically saying, look, I'm going to go get one of the best point guards in the league. I got one of the best big men in the league, and I'm still there, kind of creating his own kind of super team yet again.
LeBron is saying finally. I mean, LeBron, most of these guys grew up LeBron James fans. Most of these guys went to LeBron James basketball camp. LeBron is saying, look, I mean, you know who getting tired of everybody talking about LeBron? That would be LeBron James' mom. Boy, LeBron has done more for the NBA than any player that I've ever seen, not named Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and maybe even Shaquille O'Neal. But LeBron is going into year 19, Kevin. I mean, think about it. If you're going into the 19th year of your job, you might be the best at it. But I'm tired. I don't want to be the headliner no more. I don't want to bring the ball up no more. I don't want to lead my team in minutes, rebounds, assists, and points. I want to get to the second half and put some icing hot on my knees. I want the plane to smell like Ben Gay. I'm tired. I've been in the league 18 years. What do y'all want from me? So LeBron, like, listen, I don't care. And LeBron even said it. Once LeBron's son plays, well, he got to go 1 year in college, I think. So what? LeBron got to wait another 4-5 years. LeBron gonna be 42 years old, man, trying to see Bronny James and LeBron James in the same lineup. I think then LeBron will move on. He'll stop wearing a little, paint on his hair. He done. I'm done. I'm sick of y'all.
We'll see how long he sticks with it, like you said. But yeah, again, trying to put together that team to go out and get another championship, as you and I were talking pre-show. Getting that 5th will be very, very important to him at the end of the day. We'll come back. We'll talk to a guy that Ben is very familiar with, former tight end with the Titans with Ben, also former Texas tight end Bo Scaife will join us here on 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It is 3 and Out here on this Friday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you're with us. Thanks for making us a part of your day. Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC, and joining us here on 3 and Out, former Texas tight end, played with you, Ben, with the Tennessee Titans as well. Bo Scaife joins us here on 3 and Out. Bo, welcome. How are you?
How you guys doing, man? Appreciate you guys having me.
I appreciate you coming on. Are you ready to break out an SEC chance?
Oh, yeah, man. You know, Texas, man, everything we do in Texas is a little bigger, so we're ready for all that.
And Skis, man, I know when it first came about, I know we used to joke all the time when we played, man, how you guys, you and Oklahoma, you guys ran the Big 12, and obviously all these years later, that's still, was still the same, thing. But when you look at now, what kind of Texas swag are y'all bringing over to the SEC, man? I know you always told me about a Troop. You got to come with me to these Texas relays, but y'all boys bring a nice swag over here to the SEC.
Well, I know we bring in a bunch of deep pockets first and foremost. You know, I think we are the premier program when it comes to the amount of revenue that we bring in. So we be bringing a little more juice, a little more economic stability to an already established SEC. So, you know, it's exciting to have two big programs like Texas and Oklahoma already join the league that's competitive and as strong as the SEC. So I think it's going to be a win-win for everybody, and most importantly, the college fans.
And again, kind of follow up with what Ben said. Will it seem weird to see Texas, LSU, Texas, Auburn potentially become a regular thing as long as Texas has been in like the Southwest Conference and the Big 12 playing schools like that?
I think it's great. You know, these are all the southern states. You know, this is where all the best football is played, you know, around the country. So, you know, to get all these athletes in one stadium, this is going to be a treat for everybody. The players are going to get to be able to play against the best players in the country. So, I mean, like I said, I think this is a win-win for everybody, especially the fans. I know I can't wait to watch.
And Bo, for those people in the Southeastern Conference that haven't had a chance to really know what the Red River rivalry is about, I mean, I know we got our Florida Georgias and we got our Egg Bowls and Iron Bowls, but that Red River rivalry, I know right now you guys are playing it in a neutral site. But for those in the Southeastern Conference who ain't never really experienced it, man, what are those fans should be in store for?
You know, to have it at the Cotton Bowl was an amazing experience. I think that's what probably made it so unique. You know, you literally have the stadium half burnt orange, half red for Oklahoma, so it's an amazing sight to see. The neutral site, we'll see how that plays out. I think, you know, like I said, both stadiums and both fan bases are going to travel, and it's going to be filled to the top. So I'm excited to see. Hopefully they can keep this rivalry going and maybe start some new ones with some of the SEC students.
All right, Bo, you mentioned you think Texas fits right in monetarily, obviously, in the SEC. How do they fit in on the field right now in the SEC, let's say, if they were to join next season?
I mean, I think we're going to be one of the top echelon teams out the gate. You know, obviously we got the Alabamas. You know, we played Georgia a couple of years ago. You guys saw what happened in that game. So, you know, we'll be able to be up there and find our way to the top. I think Sarkisian is a great addition for us. He knows the SEC very, very well, so he's going to be able to speak to those recruiting, you know, pools down there that all the other schools are picking from. So I think, like I said, it's going to be a great place to go. I think players are going to be excited to go to Texas, and we just got to see what happens, man. I know it's just big football on the way.
The one thing, Ski, that I know about Texas is y'all former players, y'all alumni is serious. I know you talk about them deep pockets, but when y'all former players come back, y'all support each other through and through. How much is that going to help y'all in recruiting? Because I know one team that's not happy that y'all coming to the SEC, and that's them boys from Texas A&M, because now they got to recruit against y'all guys and compete against y'all guys.
Well, we've never really been, you know, much to talk about Texas A&M. We never really felt like they were on our level just as far as the other schools in Texas. You know, obviously the last few years, you know, the other Texas schools have been holding their own against the University of Texas. So, you know, that conversation has changed. But, you know, as far as recruiting, you know, everything we offer down there at Texas, we got great facilities, great fan base, great alumni. So we're checking off all the boxes when it comes to a great place to, you know, go for your formal education, your secondary education, and also to live a good life after you get done playing football. So Austin and the university itself have a whole lot to offer.
I guess since Ben brought it up, speak to bringing that back, potentially the Texas A&M rivalry that we haven't seen for quite some time, and just how heated does that get?
It used to be a really, really heated rivalry. You would see, George Bush and the Bushes over there at the game, and, you see the little sway that they do at the stadium. So, for me coming to Colorado and playing in that game, it was an amazing game. So hopefully there's going to be a lot of animosity still towards us. I know there is. I know the alumni don't really love each other. But we're excited to reignite that. And like I said, we're excited to start some new rivalries with some of the SEC schools. I can't wait to see, Texas, Florida, Texas, Alabama, all the other LSUs, the Georgias. It's going to be exciting for us. And, I know we're up for the challenge for sure.
But with everything going on in college athletics right now, I mean, you guys are coming to the SEC at a big time. You look at name and image likeness. You look at how these young players are able to go out there and benefit off their name and image likeness. What does a school like Texas offer that no other school can when you're talking about helping these student athletes benefit off their name and image likeness?
I think the amount of resources that the university provides to the student athletes is probably second to none. That supporting cast, the alumni, the guys coming back to help the guys. I think they got a good strategy for that, and they're going to be able to kind of help these kids manage and navigate through this new process. I mean, obviously, True, we would love to be able to partake in something like this. So I'm just excited for these guys. I hope everyone just kind of takes their time and doesn't dive right in because, as with money, it's easy to spend, hard to make. So, I just hope they focus on playing football and letting the football take care of everything, and that's the most important thing.
I was going to say, Bo, how do you as a former player kind of look at what these guys are going through? I know it doesn't seem like that long ago. We talked about Ben during his playing time at Florida and you during your time at Texas. I mean, in some ways that seems like a long time ago, and in other respects it's really not. But social media, now as Ben said, name, image, likeness stuff going on, the opportunities for student athletes away from the field now. How much are these guys putting on their plate that maybe, 20 years ago even you just didn't have to deal with or didn't have to worry about as a student athlete?
It's a whole lot on their plate, and that's why it's kind of a scary situation if you don't have the right foundation and you don't have the right resources in place to support you. I think our university for sure is definitely putting those procedures and those processes in place to help these guys manage it. But, I mean, what a time to be alive and play football. And I think the biggest reward is probably going to be after football. You've already built your brand, in a big school and one of the Power 5 schools. And, who knows what other doors and opportunities that leads to when you're done playing football because you've done such a good job building your brand and carrying yourself through the 4 years at your university.
Now, Skeez, one thing I know y'all got the Longhorn Network, but we got the SEC Network. They're gonna have to expand. Guys like yourself, Vince Young, Michael Grissom, Brian Arakpo. You guys got a star-studded lineup. I mean, what's gonna happen when the SEC call your phone up, Skeez, saying, "Listen, hey, Skeez, nobody can talk about them Longhorns better than you can, man. We might need some of that, some of that Colorado swagger and some of that Austin swagger on some of these networks these days, man."
I'm gonna tell them to call Ben Troop's agent. And I want the same deal that Troop get. I want my boy Troop to get a raise. And then I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do what I do. I love my university. I'm very proud to be a Texas Longhorn. So whatever I can do to assist the players, first and foremost, and assist the university, I'm always up for it. Like I said, they help make me. They help, create the path that I'm on right now. And I'm just very, very thankful that I had the opportunity to play at such a nice and strong university.
And Bo, I mean, something you keep talking about that I think is very, very important, us being able to protect them. Like, I know that me and you, our time is over with, but we benefited greatly because we got a chance to go to the National Football League and compete on the biggest scale. But you keep on talking about that money. It's easy to, easy to spend, hard to keep in them bank accounts. What are we gonna have to do as former players? What type of coalition are we gonna have to form? Because Bo, just like I know, these guys are going to be out here making a lot of money, and the last thing they understand is financial literacy. It took me and you going making big money to understand it. What are we going to have to do to make sure we protect them boys for not just making money, but having something to show for it when it's all said and done?
It's kind of like growing a plant. You got to just keep watering. These kids got so much going on. They got so many things, on their minds, so many people in their ears. So it's just like watering the plant. You got to keep watering them every day, keep repeating it to it so it just comes second nature to them. Like I said, it's easy to spend, hard to make. So, we can just keep them focused on, doing what they need to do in the classroom and being an outstanding football player when they're on that field. I think everything will fall into place and take care of itself. But those are the first and foremost, the most important things that they need to handle. and everything will fall in place for them.
Bo Scaife, our guest here on 3 and Out, former University of Texas Longhorn, Tennessee Titan tight end there as well, joining us. Bo, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Hey, appreciate you guys, man. Keep doing your thing.
Appreciate it. Bo Scaife joining us here on 3 and Out. And Ben, obviously, Longhorns coming into the SEC. Paperwork says 2025, but obviously a lot of people think it's going to be sooner than that. And how do you think I'll ask you, because obviously Bo's going to say, like, Texas, we're good to go. We got the financial resources, which nobody's going to argue with that. But how do you think they fit in football-wise on the field? Let's say if it does happen next year, and all of a sudden they're playing your Arkansas, your Bamas, your Auburns, your LSUs on a pretty regular basis.
I mean, Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M, LSU, I think gonna give Texas some trouble. I think everybody else that you should watch out. Man, you heard what he said. I mean, they played Georgia not too many years ago, and you saw what happened. But this is the thing, though, Kevin, because they can see it years out. Watch that recruiting class, because see now they're gonna get the cream of the crop coming out of the state of Texas. So that's the thing. It's not so much they say, hey, listen, man, in order to compete, Texas need to be in the top 5 in recruiting, because the top schools in recruiting usually are the last 4 teams, or at least competing for the last 4 teams standing. So you're going to be getting a different caliber of Texas Longhorn by the time they get to the SEC. But listen, you never met Bo. Bo loved playing for UT, man. I mean, them Longhorns, this guy, I mean, that's why I respect Bo. But Bo knows Big 12 ain't the SEC. Playing Georgia in a bowl game, when you don't got to play them but one time, it's different. But when you got Georgia one week, Florida next week, LSU, Auburn, Texas A&M, Alabama, even if you get Vanderbilt and Arkansas, they could be saying, hey, y'all ain't finna just beat the brakes off us. Y'all still a guest until, in this house until y'all build y'all own. But I think UT is right there in the middle of the pack. They got a good enough talent to beat anybody. And because of what we've seen, they can lay an egg. But Sarkisian just left South Carolina thinking he was going to the Big 12. Nick Saban was saying, hey, I know you thought you knew everything about me, but it's different when you got the lineup in front of me.
Yeah, certainly is. We appreciate Bo joining us here on 3 and Out. We got much more to come all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back. Good to have you here on this Friday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop. Thanks for making us a part of your day. Braves and Brewers tonight. We're coming up on the trade deadline here in just a few minutes. We'll see if the Braves have another move left in them, Ben. Not a lot of talk out there on the rumor wire at this point. The Braves made a couple of moves. Adam Duvall going to be a Brave again. Played really well for them last year. Braves give up Alex Jackson for him. Eddie Rosario from the Indians comes over. They send Pablo Sandoval, so they are able to move Pablo Sandoval without just cutting him, who has just been awful for the Braves as of late. Rosario is on the injured list. I think going to be out maybe another week or two before he's able to play. But by and large, you've fully redone your outfield from what it was just 2 weeks ago with Jock Peterson, now Adam Duvall, and soon to have Eddie Rosario out there in the outfield. So the Braves making moves and give a little more pop in the bat and a lineup that looks a little bit more ferocious than what they've been putting out there.
The Braves are doing it the Braves way. Alex Anthopoulos, isn't that something that he had to establish earlier though, Kevin? Everybody was saying, okay, what type of GM is he going to be? Is he going to be aggressive? Is he going to go out there and really depend on the farm system? But every time the trade deadline is two things. If you're a contender, you want to be able to add a piece to help you keep the momentum. If you're spending a bunch of money and it don't look like you're going to make some postseason moves, you're trying to dump these players. People saying, why would a guy like Scherzer, go out with the Dodgers? Well, the experiment, it worked. They won. They won. They won a freaking World Series. So now we're trying to get rid of this money. Hey, we're trying to see if we can do it again, with younger players. But, when I look at this Braves team, you was able to add a bat. You was able to add some quality, outfielders. And I think Pablo Sandoval was good for the morale of the team, but that's about it. Kevin, you said the last time he came with the bat, I don't think he even had in that bat for like the last, 2 months, at least a home run. I know you see a guy in the freaking dugout with a freaking panda head on, and you thinking, what in the world? He was the man of hugs.
Seriously, this was the true. I said this to somebody off air, so I might as well say it here on air. He basically was a paid to be a cheerleader, right? He got one at bat a night. When everybody else hit their homers, he would go put on the panda head and give him a hug. That's basically what he did. He'd get his one at bat a night, not get a hit, and go sit back down. That's not being rude. That's just the facts. That's what it had come to. So I think there were a lot of people saying, look, he can't play the field. He's given you one at bat a night, which has not been that good. He literally hasn't had a hit in over a month and a half. Like, why is he still on the roster? And the Braves managed to move him and get something in return. That's pretty amazing, if you ask me, from Alex Anthopoulos, because he had just, again, didn't have a whole lot of value to your ball club. And not only were you able to trade him, you were able to get a guy that, when healthy, is not playing too terribly. I think over 250 with the batting average, has some home run power, has some speed. I think he's got 7 triples so far for Cleveland. So, look, that's a minor move. Those are the moves that I think we've been talking about all week on the show, where it's like, look, you don't have to give up a lot. Matter of fact, you made 2 moves today, and you gave up a guy who was hitting 172, hadn't had a hit in a month and a half for a guy that can play outfield, and you gave up your minor league backup catcher to get Adam Duvall back. That's what you did. Those are pretty good moves to make your team better. You didn't really give up a whole lot, and I think that's smart by Alex Anthopoulos, because I think we'd been talking on the show, like, look, you're kind of in that no man's land where you're 4 games out, where you're right there. You could go for it. The Mets and Phillies are making moves today as well. But you could just as easily be 6-7 games out and go, we probably shouldn't have gone all in. So you're kind of in that limbo area where now you've at least gone out and tried to do something, made a move or two, and see where the cards may fall. But you didn't mortgage yourself for next year, or put yourself in a bad way for next year or the year after by doing some of these things.
Yeah, and the thing is, Kevin, the trade deadline comes down to one thing. What did you have to give up to get it? How much did you pay for what you got? And when you look at this Braves team, Alex Anthopoulos is always saying, look, I'd rather keep the money in-house for the players, Freddie Freeman, who got a contract coming up that he's going to want pretty big money. Will Freddie Freeman be the first player in Braves history to sign that deal? That's not a pitcher to get big money. But, yeah, I like what Alex Anthopoulos does. And it kind of shows the players, the kind of team he's built, Kevin, because like I said, Your starting lineup has always been crazy, and you still managed to be 4 games out. But kudos to Alexander Thomas. Didn't mortgage the farm for to get some guys in, and dare I say they still in the hunt.
Yeah, we got 3 minutes to go here until the trade deadline is done. We'll see if Alex Anthopoulos pulls off a last-minute move here, but appears the Braves may be done for the time being. I know that people were saying go add a bullpen arm, and maybe they were trying, and it seems like some of the names that we heard have ended up going elsewhere. So we'll see what the Braves do when we come back on the flip side, recap all the craziness that's happened here at the trade deadline and more. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back, 3 and Out, here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop. Glad you're making us a part of your day as we enter hour number 2. We'll get to take 3 coming up in just a little bit. We'll peek in at NFL training camps, which are going on right now as well, counting it down to the regular season. But the trade deadline has now come and gone. And it looks like the Braves have made 2 moves. Eddie Rosario for Kung Fu Panda, Pablo Sandoval. He goes to the Indians, and Adam Duvall going to be in a Braves uniform again for Alex Jackson. As of the 4 p.m. time, that is all the Braves have done. It looks like all the Braves are potentially going to do here. Didn't add a bullpen piece. I know they were in it for Craig Kimbrell potentially up until the end, Ben, and couldn't get that done. But you look around, and now you look back and say, how did you fare against your division? Well, the Nationals were big-time sellers. They got rid of Scherzer, Yan Gomes, Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, pretty much anybody that they can move, they got rid of. So the Nationals have pretty much thrown in the towel. Throw in the towel. We were talking about Rocky yesterday. That's what they've done. You got the Phillies have gone out there and made a few moves. Ian Kennedy, pitcher, comes over from the Rangers. The Mets have gone out there and made moves. Javi Baez comes over from the Cubs to help shore up their infield. So they have gone out and made moves at the trade deadline. And now you sit back and say, who did enough to take control of this division? Can the Braves close the gap? Or can the Mets or Phillies run away with this thing? Now time will tell. But the NL East very active today in a lot of the trade discussions.
I think however you felt about the Braves going into the trade deadline, you kind of feel the same about them coming out. Kevin, it's going to be, can the Braves catch the Mets? I know the Phillies obviously going to go ahead and make some moves. They had, they was kind of star-studded before they went into the trade deadline because the Nationals and the Strasburg experiment worked a couple of years back when they won the World Series. They trying to dump that money. They really trying to do right by Scherzer. One, they don't want to pay him that money. 2, put him on a NL contender, in the Dodgers. And then you look at this Braves team. I think they did do enough, Kevin. When you look at the Braves' way of doing things, Alex Anthopoulos seems to be very frugal, even though it ain't his money. He's very frugal with his spending. Is he willing to give a guy a lot of money if he think? I thought the Craig Kimbrell, if he could have got Kimbrell, that would have been. I mean, that's what me and BJ was joking about yesterday. Like with your birthday yesterday, we was like, if we get Craig Kimbrell and Kevin's off the show, is that all I had to do? Like, am I the good luck charm? I mean, I'm going to get, but
obviously not.
Obviously not. But I think what Alex Anthopoulos does, I mean, he seems to be very, very sound in his thinking. He's saying, okay, what has worked and who works? Adam Duvall works. Rosario is a guy that obviously, you didn't have to give up a lot to get him. Kung Fu Panda, while he made some, early game heroics outside of the hugs in the Panda head, he had to move on. And I think because this Braves team has shown some fight without these 2 additions, you got to feel good to know if these guys can add a little bit of pop, definitely add some defense in the outfield. You're gonna feel good about it. And once again, Kevin, this was based on who's coming back. Huascar Ynoa, these guys, you're gonna get some help coming back here down the stretch. So you add some usual suspects with these guys that just got traded, and the guys that's already, Ozzie, Freddie, Austin, Dansby Swanson has been, clutch as of late, and the bullpen. So with what the Braves do, yes, it's still gonna take a lot to catch the Mets, man. They still the Mets, but I think the Braves, I think when you look at them, I think they built for the long haul. You said, Kevin, give yourself a shot pre-All-Star game. Don't come out the All-Star game. Now, they make it exciting. We good for that. We'll win 15-1 and lose 2-1. But that's the Braves, man. That's the Braves. And hopefully with the 2 new additions, it could definitely bolster some level of momentum down the stretch.
Yeah, and we'll see what the Braves are able to do with it since the All-Star break. It's win-loss, 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 just like that, all the way out. But as you said, Huascar Ynoa, I think, has started a throwing program. He could start some rehab starts here shortly. And supposedly, according to the Braves, you have the rehab assignment going on for Travis d'Arnaud. Starts tonight at AAA Gwinnett. So he is starting to come back. I don't know how long it'll take for him to get ready and back at it, but that process has started. So there's possibility you get to see him in the not too distant future, maybe in a couple of weeks. So you are still going to add, if you will, to your roster. I know people hate it's like making a trade without making a trade. Well, no, I mean, there are teams that get guys back from injury and it makes them better. I think that's what this will happen with the Braves. You get a Noah back, you get Travis d'Arnaud back, it will make you better. Certainly at catcher and to give you a little more depth in the starting rotation. So I think the Braves did enough. I would equate this to like, hey, we think we're in it, and they got about ankle deep in the water. It's like, oh, okay, here we are. Let's see if we can get knee deep in the water, or if we just say, no, we're going back out. I think that's kind of the equivalent to what they did. They didn't go run and go cannonball and jump in there. The Braves got about ankle deep in the water and said, okay, we've done a little bit. Let's see if we can get a little deeper in this thing, i.e. closer to the Mets, and make it happen. If we fall out of it, we haven't really cost ourselves anything in terms of for the future. We didn't take on a bad contract to try to make a run. You didn't give up a whole lot to make it happen. Again, Pablo Sandoval might as well have not been playing the last couple of months. He was literally, as you said, just sitting on the bench, putting on a panda head every so often and handing out a hug. So the fact that you got a major league player for him, pretty incredible. Quite frankly. And then you get Adam Duvall, who is a fan favorite of the Braves, a guy who hits the ball really well there at Truist Park. I think that's a win for the Braves as well. And again, it costs you, let's face it, at best, if Alex Jackson comes and exceeds expectations, he's a backup catcher at the major league level. At worst, he's a minor league guy that's going to struggle to stay at the major league level. I don't think that was very much to give up in exchange for Adam Duvall, who can play for you every single day. So I think pretty shrewd moves there for Alex Anthopoulos, if you ask me. And at the end of the day, now we sit back and see if the Braves can make some hay in this thing over the next week or so.
Yes, I think it's going to put more pressure on the guys like Travis d'Arnaud and obviously Huascar Noah that's coming back, Kevin. But you did add some, some level of momentum. You did add some pieces. That's all you can really ask for, because if the Braves go out there and swing for the fences and they don't win the NL East and make the playoffs, and you're looking at these contracts, you're saying, what did we give up? Didn't give up a lot. And I think I do agree with your analogy. I mean, listen, right now the Braves are in the pool with the Mets. The problem is Mets are on the deep end. And Braves on the shallow end. They can see them, but you don't got to swim to be on the shallow end. Last time I checked, you got to go over there and learn how to tread water on the deep end. We'll see if as long as you can see your competition, you can catch your competition. Now, if you can't see them anymore, that's a little bit different. But I like the Braves' chances. What Alex did is he ain't put extra added pressure on the newcomers. He keeping all the pressure on the guys that's already been there, because he knows that help is on the way. Hopefully, in the next coming weeks you'll get some of these guys back. You add the newcomers with the veterans and the guys coming back. You might have a deadly team in the NL East coming down the stretch.
Yeah, again, I think it's a pretty good deal there for Alex Anthopoulos to pull off, and I think the message it sends your team at least a little bit. Hey, we went out there to try to supplement the team. Ben, you've talked about this. Being with the Titans, where you're there, then all of a sudden, wait, Eddie George is gone, and what does it say? Even if it's a small move to improve the team, it's not what the Nationals did, which is basically get rid of 3 or 4 of their star players and try to rebuild. I mean, what does that say to you if you're in the Braves locker room? That did you go out and get Craig Kimbrell? No. Did you go out and get a Max Scherzer? No. Did you go out and make your team better? I think you did. What does that say to you if you're in that locker room?
They believe in us. They believe in the guys that's already here. I mean, because the thing about it is, Kevin, everybody's watching the trade deadline. You've seen the guys they're bringing in. You've seen them for 2 reasons. 1, who they are, and 2, what position do they play. And if you're already on that roster, nothing says we believe in you more than you go out there and make some moves, and that doesn't affect the core of this team. Freddie Free is going to lead them. Also, Austin Riley is playing well. Dansby Swanson is doing great with the fill-in. You look at how well this bullpen, is pitching. I just think that if Max Fried and those guys, Ian Anderson, those guys, can keep that momentum going to get us to the 5th, maybe the 6th inning, to make it so that this bullpen don't have to pitch as many innings. I think it's going to bode well for them. So yeah, nothing screams we care. We believe in you guys more than the trade deadline comes and goes, and two new guys came and got in the pool, but they ain't coming in going crazy. Hey man, no splashing on this side. So yeah, added 2 new guys to the pool, but nothing crazy. And I think they believe in it. Plus, it goes back again to Kevin. They know they got some guys coming back. which makes life a little bit easier for Alex Anthopoulos because I guarantee you, Anthopoulos, he stayed away from Twitter because Braves faithful, they want you to go swing for the fences, but it ain't our money. And when it ain't your money, spend it all, baby.
That's right. Just go get them. Just make it happen. At the end of the day, we got more to come here on 3 and Out. We'll take 3 when we return, but the trade deadline has come and gone. Braves with a couple of moves today. Getting an outfielder from the Indians for Pablo Sandoval. Get Adam Duvall back in to play outfield for Alex Jackson, who was at AAA Gwinnett. We've got more to come. Take 3 around the corner. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back, 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop. Glad you are with us here on the program. We'll check in on NFL training camps coming up in just a little bit. Also, trade deadline is here. And, of course, today, the invite, 14-0, as we all knew it would be, Texas and Oklahoma coming to the SEC. We'll get to that coming up a little bit later as well. But first, let's take 3 here on 3 and Out. All right, Ben, take 1. Are you mad at LeBron for creating another super team there in Los Angeles now that Russell Westbrook comes out there to join him and AD?
No, I'm envious of LeBron, and I think everybody that's ever in sports is envious of LeBron. I mean, the GM.
We may have lost Ben for a moment.
And I'm watching it happen. So, I mean, for me, Kevin, I'm not envious. I'm not mad at LeBron. I'm envious of LeBron. I mean, LeBron said, I want AD. Magic Johnson couldn't get AD. LeBron got it. So LeBron said, all right, man, I've been leading my team with points, assists, rebounds, and minutes since I've been in the league. I'm tired. My knees is cracking. So let me go out there and get Russell Westbrook, a superstar who deserves a superstar like LeBron, for which if anybody's ever going to reel Russell Westbrook in and get him to just buy it, and listen, man, just follow me. It's gonna be LeBron. So hey, man, LeBron got Kyrie a championship. He got Kevin Love a championship. He got Chris Bosh a championship. Got AD a championship. Got Dwight Howard a championship. Why not get Russ a championship? Add to his legacy. I'm not mad at LeBron. If the only people mad at LeBron is the Clippers, it's Kawhi Leonard, it's PG-13, it's the rest of the NBA because they're gonna have to deal with them next year.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that's kind of one of the things where people get mad at certain players. LeBron kind of started that there in Miami. Then you saw KD jump on over there with Golden State. Then you saw KD again with James Harden and company there at Brooklyn, try to form one, and now LeBron again there in LA with Russell. I'm interested to see how this plays out. If you get the you just star clustering to win a ring. Well, obviously, as you said, Ben, for LeBron James, it's about getting 5 rings, getting up there with Kobe. Maybe he plays long enough to get a shot at 6. Who knows? But what?
I know. I'm just saying. Could you imagine?
That's the ultimate GOAT status, right? Is you got to.
Well, I'm gonna say this: if LeBron gets to 6, Kevin, I mean, I don't want him to get to 6 because I don't want him to be on the Tom Brady. He's gonna play till he's 50. He's really gonna be looking like Uncle Drew in real life. So no, LeBron, I'm happy for him, man. He got Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook deserves to be on a winning franchise. So shout out to LeBron, shout out to Russ. We'll see what happens.
All right, moving along, take 2. Did the Braves do enough? And I will say this, Ben, knowing that since we have come back on the air, the Braves apparently snuck one in under the wire, and they got Jorge Soler from Kansas City, power hitting outfielder who's been hitting well as of late. They send a right-hander, Casey Kalick, back to Kansas City. So the Braves, with one more move, have essentially acquired 3 outfielders today for a prospect, a backup catcher, and Pablo Sandoval. That's not bad, and didn't get any bullpen help, but did the Braves now do enough knowing that they made yet one more move?
For me, I would say yes. I think they did enough because, once again, you wanted to add some pop to that. You wanted to add some pop to the lineup. I think you did that. And Kevin, you know, just like I know, when you start talking about adding a reliever, if the guy don't live up to the bill, and you add relievers when you know you're guaranteed to make it to the postseason, that's not necessarily the case this year. I think they did because they didn't have to give up that much to add something. So it wasn't addition by a really, really bad subtraction. You was able to add a backup catcher. You was able to add some pop to your lineup. I mean, as far as like some hitters, and you was able to add out there to that outfield. Because once again, I do the trade deadline plus the guys coming back. I would say yes, the Braves did enough because they're still in contention with not having Ronald Acuna Jr., not having Marcell Ozuna, not having Mike Soroka, not having Huascar Nova, not having Travis d'Arnaud. That's a lot of not havings to still be in. Shout out to Alex Anthopoulos doing it the Braves way, not the Dodgers and the Yankees way. Because good Lord, so I like what they've done.
I will say Soler has not had a great season at the plate. You think he's currently hitting 192, but a guy that does have some power, maybe a bench piece at the end of the day that can come off and fill that Kung Fu Panda role at the end of the day. So I think for what they've done, I think they've done enough. If they weren't going to go all in, which I didn't think they should, I think this is the kind of moves you wanted to see them make. So, yeah, I think the Braves have done enough as well. All right, Ben, take 3, college football. Obviously, Texas and Oklahoma officially get the invite. It's all lovey-dovey. It's the fake love, as you like to say, from the schools that are even, smiling through their grit teeth of, welcome to the SEC, But with that being said, obviously the conference goes to 16. It's going to be difficult to do some things. Do you, as a fan and former player, worry about some of the traditions that may have to go away as college football continues to expand?
I do not. I don't think the traditions go away because I think you have to. Well, Kevin, I say it this way: some teams think they have a tradition, or some teams think they have a tradition together. And you're gonna realize you don't. You will realize what they value as a tradition when these teams come over, and you're gonna be able to create some new traditions. The Iron Bowl's not going anywhere. Florida Georgia's not going anywhere. Egg Bowl not going anywhere. You're gonna add the Red River rivalry to the traditions. But Kevin, LSU, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Georgia, we'll see. But I think that now Georgia, Auburn might be a little sketchy because that's good old, that's the longest one. But no, I don't think the traditions are going to go away, Kevin. I think that's what makes it beautiful. Listen, whatever we do at the family reunion, right? We got 2 family members that we didn't know we had. Y'all finna see what the traditions are. Y'all gonna welcome us to y'all traditions, but we don't take it away. If it's already there, why mess with a good thing? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I'm looking to see what traditions are gonna come from the 2 new additions, not just Texas A&M, but Oklahoma versus who, Texas versus who. But if you're an Auburn, Alabama fan, don't worry. If you're an Ole Miss, Mississippi State fan, don't worry. If you're a Florida, Georgia, don't worry. You can't take those away. That's as big as the SEC school itself. But no, I don't think the tradition's gonna go away, and you're gonna add some new traditions. And unfortunately for Arkansas and Vanderbilt, hopefully y'all are getting to start playing each other. Because good Lord, it's gonna be rough for those 2.
Yeah, I worry about some of the stuff like that. Like I think there are certain games that you're going to go out of your way to protect. Your Florida Georgias, your Bama Auburns, games like that. But I do worry does the Florida LSU go away? Does Tennessee Alabama go away? And I don't mean like go away as in completely, but they just don't play as much. They just don't play as often as they used to. The 3rd Saturday in October just goes away. I mean, we've seen it across sports. Texas A&M went away. We've seen Penn State and Pitt stop playing. I think Pitt and West Virginia had played something like 90 years in a row and they quit playing. Once West Virginia went to the Big 12, and it just didn't make sense. I worry about things like that because I do think that's kind of the foundation that college football is built on. And I know you can make new rivalries, but I guess in the short term, outside of the name itself, does Auburn, Texas kind of have that same feel to it? Not yet, it doesn't.
No, not yet. Down the line, maybe, but not.
Does Oklahoma, Ole Miss kind of have that same feel? No, I don't think it does. So I kind of worry about stuff like that where it's just, we've expanded, and maybe you lose some of those. I won't say the major ones because I think the SEC will go out of their way to protect those. But in protecting those, you're probably going to have to concede some other ones that may take place and it may not take place as frequently. For example, if you go to the pod system, and let's say South Carolina is not in the constant pod as Georgia, maybe Georgia doesn't see South Carolina but once every 2 or 3 years. And I think you lose a little something when you don't play each other, quite as much. So that's the kind of stuff I think you lose in this, and I hope it doesn't kind of just totally go by the wayside and that you sacrifice too much of that kind of stuff at the altar of a few more dollars.
Yeah, I do hope that the traditional Southeastern Conference fans or the odds makers or the schedule makers understand that certain things are worth preserving, and some of these schools are worth preserving. Now, Oklahoma and Texas, they're gonna have to earn their keep too. I mean, what type of legacy are you guys gonna build with certain teams? Like Florida LSU, I mean, it's become a nice little rivalry over the years. So I do think those type of teams, Kevin, those type of games, hopefully it's going to be preserved. So yeah, I do think Texas I don't think Texas, Mississippi State has a lot of sexiness to it, right now. But maybe if teams stay relevant and the brands stay real good, we can develop some nice ones. But it's gonna take a couple of years for that. But I hope you preserve the ones that are already there first before you start just breaking the band up.
And don't do what the AAC did and just make up a trophy for UConn and Central Florida. Hey, guys, we're going to call this the whatever rivalry. What?
You're like, what?
Yeah, it's a rivalry. You hate each other now, and here's the trophy to prove it. What?
That's nonsense. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Hopefully they don't do something ridiculous like that. But, yeah, I'm interested to see how that kind of changes. Because, again, you start hearing the stuff about, oh, they're going to go to 20 teams, or they're going to do that. Like, if it gets that big, I think some of that stuff is going to fall by the way because you just simply can't keep it all together at the end of the day. So that is one of the things I worry about when it comes to college football. That's Take 3. Good to have you here with us on this Thursday. If you miss any portion of the show, go to ESPNCoastal.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our YouTube channel, and you get the podcasted version of the show. We'll come back. We're talking NFL training camps, and I got to say, Ben, it's been 3 days, and I'm tired of it already. And I'll tell you what I mean next. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Ben, Braves sneaking them in under the deadline. I asked it in take 3, did the Braves do enough? Well, apparently the guys reporting on this are getting them, coming in after the fact here. But the Braves, Eddie Rosario, Adam Duvall, Jorge Soler, they've picked up 3 outfielders today in exchange for Pablo Sandoval, Alex Jackson, and a minor league reliever. And just under the deadline as well, the Braves have picked up Richard Rodriguez, formerly the closer for the Pittsburgh Pirates, who obviously did a number on the Braves, 14 saves, ERA 2.82. So you added a bullpen piece as well to maybe help shore up the back end. So you got 3 outfielders and a closer today at the trade deadline.
So Alex Anthopoulos used that old end of the deadline. Listen, man, I mean, I'm willing to take him off your hands, but I'm not willing to pay that. I mean, isn't that smart though, Kevin? It's like, it's like, we all trying to buy something. Everybody really want it. And I'm like, listen, I want to get it, man. I'll take it off your hands, but I don't know. I got a lot of people want to buy this. I don't see no line. I don't see nobody here. But no, Alex Anthopoulos is showing you how savvy he is. All right, Kevin? Like, he was like, all right, let everybody let the big names go. Let all the sectionists go. We kept talking about adding a bullpen piece, Did it, and I know he probably got it for I don't want to say relatively nothing, but I'm pretty sure it's very, very Braves friendly or franchise friendly type contract. So you got outfielders, check, bats, check. You got a reliever, check, and you got a backup catcher. I mean, that sounds like an A+ to me. Maybe not in the name recognition, but when you look at what the Braves needed. I mean, Darno will be back soon. You got a backup catcher. You added a bullpen piece, and you got guys out there in the outfield. Great job by Alex Anthopoulos, and did it under the radar, Kevin. I'm like, I know it ended, but he was like, well, I was on the phone with him, at 3:59, right? Go ahead and check. So that's kind of how that is. It's like the store closed at 8. We got in here at 7:58. Hey man, don't put that stuff up yet. We got to get us a sandwich first. So I like that though. I like the fact that Alex Anthopoulos he didn't let the pressure of getting a big name get to him. He was able to add a bullpen. I like it, Kevin. I mean, he's showing his savviness. Plus, help is still coming back, hopefully sooner rather than later. So outfielders, backup catcher, bullpen piece. Huascar Noah's coming back. Travis Darno's coming. I like it. I like the move.
Yeah, I think he's Richard Rodriguez, the closer for the Pirates. So a guy that doesn't have a lot of save opportunities, well, because the Pirates are a bad team. But when he comes in there, obviously getting it done in a big way. And this one, you gave up a little bit more to get. You gave up Bryce Wilson and a minor league pitcher to get that deal done. But, all in all, Bryce Wilson, a guy that bounced back and forth through the minor leagues. We'll have more on that coming up the top of next hour. But, Ben, I had to get this off my chest because, again, it's been 3 days, and I'm like, I'm done with it already. I get you want to hype your guy. But can we stop with the Trevor Lawrence is the greatest thing that's ever put on a Jags uniform? Like, every day, it's like, man. And again, I get it. It's Jacksonville, but, like, Mark Brunell's been there. You've had some good teams. It's okay to say the Jags have actually had some good teams. But to see it's like, oh, Trevor Lawrence. I've never seen a guy throw the ball like this. He just completed an unbelievable drive. Oh, man, this is Jags fans. You don't even know. This is like, it's the third day. Like, come on, man. Like, I get it. He's going to be good. I think he has a high ceiling. But can we cool it with it's the best I've ever seen? The ball is just comes out like, no, I've never seen this before. Like, I don't know what's worse. And I'm saying this with all seriousness. Is it worse with Tebow mania or Trevor Lawrence mania? Like, I get it. I'm willing to concede that Trevor Lawrence is going to be good. But it's 3 days of practice early. He probably can't even get touched yet, and he's wearing shorts. Like, can we calm down with it's the best ball I've ever seen thrown in the history of the league and stuff? I mean, it's just getting absurd.
I think that's what they have to do, Kevin. That's what they have to do to try to justify, why the jersey sales, why the fanfare, getting everybody wanting to come to the stadium, getting everybody all enthusiastic, and not just home games, but away games. You want him to be able to have that away from Jacksonville appeal. But I think it's unnecessary. I mean, is he really making a throw we've never seen? No, he's making a throw. He's throwing to, I don't know, an NFL wide receiver. So he's throwing to the best receivers in the world. I would hope that he can make throws nobody can make. He's one of 32 starters in the National Football League. He was the number 1 overall pick. But he's also doing it against one of the not so good defenses that might have the worst interior defensive line play in the National Football League. So what about those throws when they're going the other way? Because now he's going to have to throw in the tight windows. Now, separation in the NFL is not separation at Clemson. I mean, I'm sorry. I get that you had some of the best players and receivers in the country. You don't got to worry about it now. I like DJ Chark. I like Chenault and those guys. But I'm with you, Kevin. If every time he throw a flat route, oh my God, you see how he just hit him in stride? Well, I would hope so. I mean, I can hit a guy in stride. It might not look like him. It might not look like, Trevor Lawrence, but yeah. The fact that Tebow Mania has been pushed down, well, we say it has. I'm not a part of the Jaguars media. It might be ridiculous too. God, oh my God, what happens, Kevin, when Trevor Lawrence throws it to Tim Tebow? Oh my God, did you see that catch by Tim? Caught it with his hands, kept running. Gonna be a Pro Bowler. No, I'm sick of it already as well. But BJ's not on the show today. But BJ's loving it. But guess what? Guess what Trevor Lawrence can't do? He can't tackle number 22 from Jacksonville, and they can't either. So I think, Kevin, it's just where we are. People go, I can't stand these young people, man, with these inflated egos, man. They ain't humble. They think they're God's gift. Well, look at how we treat them. What do you expect? Trevor Lawrence went from Cartersville, Georgia, to Clemson to the Masters. He was at the Masters before he got drafted. Get out of here, man. Throw the ball, Trevor. Ain't nothing he can do about it. But I think, Kevin, we need to stop being, ridiculous. He's a good player. He's a transitional talent. He's a generational talent. And he hasn't played a single down yet. You know who else they said that about? Andrew Luck. Where's Andrew Luck at? Listening to 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network at ESPNCoastal.com. That's what he's doing right now. He ain't throwing the football. But yeah, it's ridiculous, Kevin. And Kevin, it's only gonna get more ridiculous when the national announcer, sports announcer saying, oh my God, did you see how he threw that in there? Oh my God. Yeah, he better get used to looking at the ceiling or looking at the sky, because he's gonna have to get used to getting up off the ground with that old line. But that's another topic for another day. But shout out to Trevor Lawrence. He's better than sliced bread, better than microwave popcorn, and he got a stadium that got pools in it. So,
yeah. Hey, look, I know he's going to be a solid player, but I get frustrated when people try to, sell the milk before the cow's fully.
Want to crown him? Go ahead and crown him then.
Yeah, it's exactly. I just look at like Trevor Lawrence is going to be a good player, I believe. But we don't need to make him out to be the second coming of Brett Favre and Dan Marino and all that before he's ever played one game. Like, it's the best ball. I'm just sitting here taking. It's like, look, why don't you just say Trevor Lawrence looks good? He looks like the real deal. I know that doesn't sell like that's the best throw I've ever seen at a Jags. Like, come on, like, don't need to oversell it. I don't think. He's the number 1 pick. That should tell you all you need to know about what the Jags think about that young man as their quarterback, that he's the number 1 overall pick. You should expect him to come in and play good. But can we stop with the, oh, my God, it's the greatest one drive I've ever seen in the history of training camp, and it's happening right now in Jacksonville. Like, calm down a minute. Like, that stuff drives me nuts. That's all. I had to get that off my chest because, like I said, it's been 3 days.
Oh, Kevin, you ain't seen nothing yet. I'm telling you. Oh my God, when he throws like a 15-yard end cut on 3rd and 16, and if the receiver would have just stretched out, it would have got the first down. Look, Trevor Lawrence right now can do no wrong because it's all good, and they can't hit him. He got a clean pocket. They can't touch him, so he's gonna be But that's not the NFL. When Aaron Donald is coming straight at you. Let's see if you can make that throw in, young man. I'm rooting for you, just not for 2 games out of the season, because when you got to go to Nashville and when they got to come down there.
We got so much more to get to here on 3 and Out, including the trade deadline has been huge. Obviously, Texas and Oklahoma, 14-0 into the SEC coming soon. We'll get to that as well. It is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you here, 3 and Out, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Vince Ruby. Again, we go down the stretch here of the coming up on the final hour of the show, Braves and Brewers, and it has been an active day in Major League Baseball for the draft. We'll recap, or for the trade deadline, I mean. We'll recap that coming up at the top of next hour. In the last little bit of the trade deadline, Alex Anthopoulos, extremely busy for the Atlanta Braves, and really bringing in 4 players for not giving up a whole heck of a lot. So we'll talk about that coming up at the top of the next hour, get you caught up on the very latest. Mets have been active. Phillies have been active. Washington Nationals were active in the other direction, selling away a bunch of players. So we'll recap all that coming up in the final hour of the program. But the NBA draft last night, BJ Ben and I talked about this. Hawks with 2, I think, solid selections. Usually when you go to the conference finals or the NBA, you're on the door of potentially the NBA finals. When it comes to the draft, you might say, we've seen it in years in the NBA where you draft guys and you say, yeah, they probably drafted that guy, and they go straight to the G League, and they're just kind of placeholders if they need a guy. I thought the Hawks did pretty well, but certainly, as Ben said, Russell Westbrook and LeBron James sucked all the air out of the room of that draft last night once that was announced.
I mean, it's been a busy couple of days, and you think about last night with the picks. I thought the Hawks did a very nice job, like you guys said. You know, you think about the trades, the names that were involved, and Kevin, I defer to you for kind of the pulse of the day with the MLB trade deadline stuff, but seems like the Braves were very active. Atlanta feels like clearly they can win the National League East. They're going to go for it. Love bringing Duvall back. Added a proven closer to the bullpen. But it's been super busy. I mean, Chris Bryant to San Francisco. You're talking about the Mets getting Baez. You're talking about Washington trading away a couple of pillars of their franchise. So with the NBA news last night, excited to obviously see Russ moving forward. And then today, and oh, by the way, of course, Texas and Oklahoma officially saying, yep, we're coming. It's been a pretty busy day. My head's been spinning, and just news all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, BJ, when it comes to baseball, I go straight to Kevin. When it comes to the NBA draft, I come straight to you. Obviously, I'm only asking you about players that's not, that was born in America. I mean, it seems like the first round now you get more guys, from overseas than ever. But that just shows that the NBA has grown this game internationally. But I do agree with you. I think that when you look at what the Braves did it the Braves way. Stay away from the breaking news. Is not going to cover what the Braves did. That would be the Dodgers. That would be the Yankees, and things of that. That would be the Mets. But I think that when you look at what the Braves are able to do, you get a nice reliever. You get a backup catcher. You get some outfielders, and you got help coming back with Huascar Ynoa, Travis d'Arnaud, and those guys. So Kevin was asking me, something I'll say to you. Nothing screams belief in the current crop of players when you don't trade them away. You are showing that you believe in the guys in this locker room. And if they can find a way to win the NL East with no Ronald Acuna Jr., no Mike Soroka, and sorry, BJ, I know your favorite Brave is out of the window. I mean, they said that Pablo might have left his little panda head for you up there at Truist Park. But no, I just think that what the Braves did, they did their way. And this is the thing that me and Kevin kept saying. I mean, the trade deadline ended at 4. Well, I think they got about 4 different lines up there at Truist Park, and they called him at 3:59 and say we was on the phone because he didn't get the reliever until after 4. So, hey, I give him a lot of credit. Alex Anthopoulos knows what he's doing. Him and Schmidt got something going on. It says something about the culture of the Braves when you can take away a lot of these star players, none bigger than Ronald Acuna, and they still 4 games out.
Yeah, I mean, again, we'll break it all down coming up in just a little bit with what the Braves were able to do, and again, they were announced later, but all these deals did get done before the trade deadline coming up this afternoon. But obviously, the Braves are at least signaling BJ that they're going to go for it. And if I say go for it, I kind of equate it to Ben. I don't know if you were listening earlier. To basically, the Braves are in the pool, but they got ankle deep and said, "Let's see if we can go knee deep." And not just go cannonball all the way into the deep end. And, I think they're going to see how this plays out over the next week or so. And they really haven't cost themselves in the future or cost themselves in the short term, just giving away guys for nothing to try to chase it. They've gotten better, and it didn't cost them a lot.
And I think that's the key point. Last night it seemed like there was kind of growing angst from Braves fans with the trade deadline, looking at teams making moves or looking at the rumors and going, okay, is there a chance maybe we don't do anything, or did the Braves maybe only make one small move? And that, of course, that carried over into today. But I think what you did is you went out and you made your baseball team better. You addressed points of weakness. You brought in some power. You brought in some outfield help. You brought in some catching help. You brought in a proven closer. I mean, I think you did a really good job. And I know a lot of people are really excited about Duvall, who, you should have re-signed anyway, and not only is that a good move for the Braves, now the Braves don't have to play him anymore when they face Miami, so he doesn't go like 8 for 12 in a series. But I think that the key point you made, Kevin, is that you didn't have to give up a ton. And listen, Kung Fu Panda was fun. He won some games for you. You appreciate him. Bryce Wilson, obviously, a couple of nights ago, actually had a pretty good showing for the Braves. I think you certainly appreciate the work Alex Jackson has done. It's hard to go up, come down, but you were not in a position to compromise your top prospects, and you didn't. And you still brought in some help. So I thought Anthopoulos did a really nice job. I thought the trade deadline, and normally there's, again, Braves fans angst around the trade deadline about, the Mets are going to do something or the Dodgers are going to do something, or normally it's the Nationals doing something and the Braves maybe make a modest move. Braves were pretty active, and the Nationals kind of reset their organization with some of the moves they've made. Now, look, we know the Mets are good. We know the Mets have talent. They added some help at the plate, so we'll see. But Atlanta added some pieces, and I think, yes, to your point, Ben, and to your point, Kevin, you showed that you are going for it. You showed that you feel like you can win this division. And for the Atlanta Braves, I think you got better today. And keep in mind, oh, by the way, what happened today, you also added Jock Peterson, a few weeks ago. So when you look at the moves overall, you brought in some pretty high profile players.
I mean, I'll just keep saying Dallas Anthopoulos doesn't give enough credit for how he's doing it, because with so many, when me and Kevin was talking about it last segment, BJ, it ain't our money. He should be spending it up. No, he's frugal even when it ain't his money, because he knows that there's a guy by the name of Freddie Freeman who's going to want a new contract at the end of the year, and you staring down that road. But yeah, I forgot all about Jock Peterson. Like I said, BJ, Jock Peterson, you look at Travis d'Arnaud, you look at Adam Duvall that you brought back. I mean, you got help coming. And you 4 games out, and Soroka's not going to be here. Ronald Acuna's not going to be here. I mean, you got to love the culture going on in Atlanta right now. If they can find a way to make this thing fun down the stretch and win, go 4 for 4. Hey man, all Alex Anthopoulos knows, 4 years, National League East champs. So he's trying to give you that 4 for 4 at this point.
Yeah, again, I'm excited to see these guys get in the Braves uniform, and we'll see if Duvall comes back here shortly and makes an impact. Final hour around the corner. Great to be here with you on this Friday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. Glad you're making us a part of your day. Final hour of the show. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. We're streaming live ESPNCoastal.com. Glad you are with us here on the program. Trade deadline today, BJ and Ben, for the Atlanta Braves, and Alex Anthopoulos was busy. I know a lot of folks were saying, "Oh, Alex Anthopoulos just not doing anything." He's like, how many times have we heard this about Alex? Oh, he's just not doing anything. He's just going to let this team rot. And then in one afternoon, he goes out and makes 4 moves. Let's recap what he's done since the All-Star break, right? Jock Peterson, Stephen Vogt, catcher. Stephen Vogt going to be your backup once Travis d'Arnaud comes back, who starts a rehab assignment tonight at AAA. So your catching situation is going to get a whole lot better, which means Kevin Smith probably not long for the roster here in the coming weeks. Your outfield looks pretty bad post Ronald Acuna Jr. We mentioned the Jock Peterson. Today, you go out and get Eddie Rosario, who is currently injured. I get it, but he'll be back in a couple of weeks, hitting .254 for the Indians. Has, I think, 7 triples, couple home runs, plays very good, center field, or plays very good outfield for the Indians. Solid major league player. You gave up Kung Fu Panda for that. I mean, just a guy who came in once a night and more known for putting on a fake head than hitting the baseball. I mean, that's true. Second move, Adam Duvall, which, BJ, I know you wanted Adam Duvall ever since last offseason. He kills the Braves when he came to Atlanta this year. Hits the ball very well in Truist Park. You got Adam Duvall back for Alex Jackson. Again, if Alex Jackson meets all expectations, he's probably a backup major league catcher. So you got immediate, legitimate major league at bat from Adam Duvall for a backup catcher at best, probably a quad A catcher is how I'd put Alex Jackson. He's a very good AAA catcher, maybe not a quality major league catcher. He's kind of in between. You then go out and get Jorge Soler for a reliever that I had not heard of. I mean, Jorge Soler hitting a .192. That's Kung Fu Panda 2.0, but you change the scenery for Kung Fu Panda, and you get Soler in there, probably coming off the bench, has some home run power, and maybe has the ability to, actually play in the field every so often and give you a legitimate chance to put somebody else out there. Then you go out, and apparently, according to Dave O'Brien of The Athletic, this deal was done at 3:56, so it's right before the deadline. You go to the Pirates and get their closer, and you say, well, it's the Pirates closer. He doesn't get a lot of opportunities, but he was 14 of 17, has a huge strikeout to walk ratio. I think he only has 5 walks the entirety of the year. ERA's under 3, 14 of 17 save opportunities, and is a guy that's making $1.7 million this year. The Braves are paying about $500K of that. He has an arbitration eligible year next year, arbitration eligible the year after that. So essentially 2 years of control if you want to keep him, and you gave up Bryce Wilson and another minor league arm. Bryce Wilson, I love him, probably a 4 or 5 starter on the Pittsburgh Pirates, which is fine. Braves already have like 3 or 4 of those guys. So you gave up something you have a lot of. And for all the other moves, BJ, again, are you talking about all-stars? Did you pull off the Max Scherzer trade? No, you didn't. But you got actual legitimate big league batters into the lineup for virtually nothing. I mean, even Jock Peterson, you gave up Bryce Ball, who was down at single A, has a lot of upside, but he plays first base. I'm sorry, you play first base in the Braves organization right now as long as Freddie Freeman's around. You're not coming to the big leagues anytime soon. So I think Alex Anthopoulos, again, working within the constraints of a budget, working the numbers, has made his team better and virtually given up nothing. Like, you got to give the dude some due. For all the people that get frustrated with Alex Anthopoulos, he is, again, worked some magic and not mortgaged virtually anything. I like Bryce Wilson, but guess what? You have your Kyle Wrights. You have 3 or 4 other guys, Yasiel De La Cruz, Tuki Toussaint, guys like that who kind of fit that mold already. That was a luxury you could afford to let walk, and you did. And you got a closer potentially with 2 more years of control under your belt. I mean, I like it. I like what Alex Anthopoulos did. Stayed let the season kind of play itself out and said, you know what, 4 games, we'll go for it. Maybe we're not diving into the deep end, but we're giving our team a chance. And he was very, very active, certainly within the last hour heading up to the trade deadline.
I agree. I think he was very effective, and I think the players you brought in can help Atlanta win and help the Braves chase a division title. And to go back to a point you just made, and we've long talked about this on the show, right? When you discuss theoretical trades, it's always, well, go out and get Chris Bryant and just give up a couple of minor leaguers. And normally when you bring major league ready, proven major league talent, when you acquire that, you have to give up a considerable amount of prospect equity. And I think Atlanta gave up some guys certainly that have potential, but you did not kind of dip into the top tier, so to speak, of your prospects, the Christian Paches, the Drew Waters, the Yasiel De La Cruzes. You did not have to give up those guys. And I think it's such a double positive to be able to acquire players that make you better and retain the players that are going to make you better in the future. And Kevin, I know you said you didn't necessarily go out and get the big all-star guys, maybe not in terms of this year with the Bryants and the Scherzers and the Turners, but Jock Peterson is a former all-star. Adam Duvall is a former all-star. Stephen Vogt is a former all-star. Jorge Soler, I know he's hurt right now and is not or has not been having a great season. He had 48 home runs in 2019. He led the American League in home runs 2 years ago. So you're talking about a guy with high upside. Is he going to hit 50, 45 home runs again? Probably not. But to your point, that's a guy that's coming off the bench late. That's a guy, to give you some pop late. You look at, Rosario, a guy that has been very productive, a guy that has been a consistent player. And then Richard Rodriguez, I think the ripple effect in the bullpen, Kevin and Ben, is significant because, and Kev, I don't know what kind of the immediate expectation is, but is Will Smith now the setup guy? Can you now leverage Chris Martin and Luke Jackson maybe in the 7th situationally? So it makes everybody better by allowing Rodriguez, who has been really efficient, to settle into a role. So I agree. If you're disappointed the Braves didn't get Chris Bryant or Joey Gallo, be happy they didn't have to give up the capital to acquire those guys. And keep in mind, Chris Bryant is a rental. Chris Bryant is a free agent at the end of the year. So you're getting him for 2 months. So yes, Rodriguez is going to be an impact guy. I think Duvall is, a fan favorite and has proven what he can do with the Braves and against the Braves. I think it was a very good stretch here where you accomplished 2 things. You got better and you didn't give up some of your top prospects, Ben. I think you did a really good job.
He did a great job because he's doing it the Braves way. The hardest thing with any GM is to establish what what is going to be your strategy for going forward with being able to pick players. I mean, BJ and Kevin, something you guys talk about. When you talk about the farm system, is there a better farm system than the Braves? That's what you hear about. We take guys that we trust our scouts. So what happens when it comes to the trade deadline? I mean, BJ, you talk about going out there to get Rodriguez. Listen, you talking about a guy that's going to help you. Being able to be in that bullpen. You talk about. I mean, Soler. I mean, BJ, when you say like how many home runs he had, that's the ability that he has. You don't expect nobody to go out there and hit 50, but I do think that the Adam Duvall, when they played the Marlins, I'm like, that's how you feel, Adam? That's how you're going to do your homies like that? But to be able to bring back a guy that was with the Braves, so you don't have to get him acclimated to the culture. The team is one thing, the culture is another thing. Adam is telling those new guys, this is what it's going to take to be able to blend in with this team. And Kevin, once again, Alex Anthopoulos knows something we don't know, and that says, look, if a GM is going out there doing frantic moves, that means there's panic within the franchise. Well, there's not panic. We 4 games out with the guys we currently have. We hoping that the guys we just brought in can help us, trim that lead from 4 to 3 to 2 to 1. But I do think that the Braves did a good job. Alex Anthopoulos doesn't get enough credit because when everybody else throwing out millions of dollars, that ain't happening with the Braves. You want to play with Acuna? You want to play with Freddie Freak? Well, come on over to Death Row, man. We got a couple of dollars for you. We get you in here and let you try to get back to that NL East championship.
Yeah, I mean, look, I look at this thing as well. As you look in the division, the Mets made some moves. Obviously, Javi Baez going to the Mets is big. The Phillies made some moves. But behind you, the Marlins obviously didn't do much of anything. They gave up Adam Duvall, who was an everyday starter for him, to the Braves. And the Washington Nationals, I mean, if you had value, you probably went if your name wasn't Juan Soto. I mean, Max Scherzer, Jan Gomes, Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, all gone from the Washington Nationals, who have effectively thrown the towel in on the season. So I think if you're Atlanta right now, it's a 3-team race, and you're going to try to close this gap down to maybe 3 or 2 as soon as you possibly can to really put some pressure on those teams in front of you.
And I understand the dynamic, right? If you're the Nationals and this is not a year where it's going to happen, you make a trade and you bring in more talent to the minor league system. I understand that. But man, I mean, some of the guys, look, Scherzer, you kind of understand because of his age and you think, maybe he only has a couple of years left, but they traded Trey Turner. I mean, when I saw that, I was absolutely stunned. And you talk about guys that have just destroyed the Braves. I mean, the Braves got a couple of bonuses. You don't have Duvall with the Marlins anymore, and you don't have Trey Turner with the Nats because he would always go, he'd have 8 hits in the series, a couple of stolen bases. And that's one of those things that kind of make you scratch your head because you would think Trey Turner is going to be a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-year player moving forward, in addition to what he's already done for the Nats. But yes, I think Atlanta today should look at the division and feel confident that they can make a run. I mean, 4 games is still 4 games. That's not unovercomable. You still have a couple of series with the Mets left. I think, Kevin, what you were getting at, you feel like if you match up with Miami or DC moving forward, that they're going to be kind of less proven and less talented than they were in the previous meetings this year. You feel like you can win those games. I mean, Ben, I think there should be some optimism around the Braves. Now, big weekend. Milwaukee is good. Their pitching staff, I think I saw on Twitter that they don't have a single pitcher right now with an ERA over 4, that everybody, all of their starters and all of their relievers are under 4. So you're going to have to earn those runs. But I think it's been a good trade deadline for the Braves, and there should be some energy around this team moving forward.
Let's go to the phones. 912-342-7184. Let's go to Jack. Jack's listening in Savannah. Jack, welcome to 3 and Out.
And thank you, guys, for the opportunity. I love the show, by the way.
Appreciate it.
But I heard that about what the Braves saving back by not going out to getting all these big time players. I understand they got a great farm system, but you got to spend something to get something, and the something is the championship. Because you could hold all these pieces and not win the championship. What you got to they got a great farm system. I mean, you trade in some big time players to get you in the spot to win the ultimate goal. It's the World Series. So whether you got to give up and get it, because you never know how many times you're going to go back anyway to get a chance. That's my take on it.
Hey, Jack, I appreciate the phone call. And again, I go back and forth with this with the Braves. Where you're like, hey, how long do you hold on to the prospects versus just going all in? I think this is an interesting spot, though, for the Braves where you say go all in. Well, Ronald Acuna is an all-star. All-star is probably a disservice. He's a mega-star player. Ronald Acuna, I think Ronald Acuna still leads the Braves in home runs, and he hasn't played for several weeks, because he's been hurt. You're getting that guy back. So I don't think you want to burn maybe some help for him when you know he's coming back next year. Mike Soroka, you look like he could be a number 1 ace for you. He hasn't played. You know he's coming back. Right. I think you want to be very careful about eating up payroll to supplement those guys, i.e., and I put this in this perspective. Do you want to be the Anaheim Angels? I.e., we got Mike Trout, we got Shohei Ohtani, and they are ballers. But the Angels are like mired in 3rd and 4th place because they can't ever go out and make a move because Mike Trout's making $40 million a year. Shohei Ohtani, up until recently, you had Albert Pujols making all that kind of money out there in Anaheim as well, and they couldn't go out and get pitching, and they couldn't go do something. I think you have to be very careful not to do that when you have some superstars there on your roster.
I got you. But I just like I think when the Braves have opportunity to get a championship, man. I mean, because it's not to look at them some shiny pieces, but they don't bring no championship. Why you got them for? But I get what you're saying too. You have a good day, okay? Good weekend, all right? Y'all be safe.
Hey, appreciate it. Thanks so much, Jack, for the phone call. BJ, Ben, I'll let you guys respond there.
Yeah, I understand what Jack is saying. Look, you want to win a championship, and Atlanta, the Braves have won, and you're talking about being close last year. But Jack, the way I look at it is kind of what Kevin was getting at. I think this is a team that is positioned for multiple runs in the future, and you can never just say we know for a fact that's going to happen. You can never say that. but Ronald Acuna is your best player. Mike Soroka is your best pitcher. You don't have either of those guys, and I'm not sure even if Atlanta would have gone out and got Max Scherzer, and I don't know how realistic that is in division, but Chris Bryant and Craig Kimbrell, I still don't think they would be the favorite to win the World Series or win the National League. So I think the goal this year, if you're being honest, is probably let's try to win this division, and then you get into the playoffs and you see what happens. But I think Anthopoulos did a really nice job for me of protecting the future by keeping Waters and Pache, et cetera, in the system, but also making the team better for this year. And when you look at this roster with some of these trade additions still on the team next year, with a healthy Mike Soroka, a healthy Ronald Acuna, and the young talent you have, I think we're going to get those championships in the future.
Jeff, while I appreciate your enthusiasm, and I do agree that when you look at what's going on around you, sometimes it looks like what's going on with your favorite team is, it's not the same, level of urgency. Well, other teams, they need those shiny things to go out there and make it look like the last time I checked, the only team in the division that's won a World Series as of late is the Washington Nationals, and they getting rid of everybody. And Strasburg is back on the end. He's having season-ending surgery. I just think that Alex Anthopoulos believes in the guys they have within this organization, and you add some key pieces, and like Kevin said, you got a mega star in Ronald Acuna. If you can find a way to win the NL East with no Ronald Acuna, no Mike Soroka, that's got to give you a lot of motivation moving forward coming into 2022 season. Because I will say this, Kevin, BJ, and Jeff, the Braves have superseded expectations at this point. Everybody said it was all in for 2019. Nobody saw them making a World Series run in 2020, and here they are back in the thick of things in 2021. Alex Anthopoulos, keep doing what you're doing, but like me and Kevin said, come off that water a little bit, baby. You can spend a little bit more money. I'm just saying.
Well, that's up to the suits at Liberty Media to agree to that, and who knows what they're looking at. They're looking at bottom lines. That's all they're looking at. We've got more to come here on 3 Down, including, a big day at the trade deadline, big day in the SEC. Everybody's smiling, hugging, kissing. Welcome to the SEC, Texas and Oklahoma. We'll get to that. It's 3 and Out, the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. SEC. Am I doing it right? We have to teach all the Texas and Oklahoma folks how to do it. But a formal invitation put out there today, and no surprise, 14-0. Everybody's on board. As I said, Greg Sankey doesn't get no's when it comes to that sort of thing. I wonder how truly disgruntled, Texas A&M and some others might have been about this. But then again, Greg Sankey just goes, "Hey, here's $50 million. Shut up. It's fine." But publicly, it was always going to be 14-0, and it was. And now Texas, Oklahoma, 2025 set to come in the league. BJ, I know not a lot of people actually believe that that's going to happen, but at least on paper, that's the deal that's in place. And at the very least, in 4 years, the SEC will become a 16-team league.
And you wonder what's next after that, or is there a next after that, or is the SEC comfortable with 16 teams? But I do think the question moving forward, and it's been amazing watching all of this play out in a relatively short period of time, but I think the question now is when. And unless there's something I'm not seeing, Kevin, I think for this to be in effect in 2022, Ben, that seems unrealistic to me. I think that would be a big surprise at this point. Now, I never put anything, there's always ways, I guess. But for me, the idea of Texas and Oklahoma playing in the SEC in 2022 seems a little bit unrealistic. Now, 2023, I think that's enough time to make it happen. And I'm like, Kevin, I think in text, or I guess in the releases, it says 2025. That would be a surprise. I don't think you're going to sit around with the inevitable out there and kind of sustain this for 4 more years contractually. I think you're going to see Texas and OU. And guys, just think about the brands. I mean, the SEC has always been the SEC, okay? Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, and LSU, and now A&M, and now Texas and Oklahoma. I mean, it's incredible to think about. And Ben, I know, when you play, man, every week you're playing one of the top teams in the country. Now you're talking about Texas and OU at some point. And I will say this, and again, I have a story up on southernpigskin.com. I think we should really look at a 2-division, 8-team format. And I know a lot of people are saying, let's do the 4-team, 4-division format, but I think you'll lose some of the annual rivalries to make the SEC special in that format. Whereas if you play a 9-game league schedule and you're in an 8-team division, Kevin, you have 2 extra games aside from your division that you can keep intact for the cross-division rivalries. That's what I would look at, and it would keep things simple in terms of win your division and make the conference title game.
Well, Ben and I talked about this at Take 3. Do you get too big to the point where traditions have to go by the wayside? Now, obviously, I think the SEC would move mountains to keep Florida, Georgia, Bama, Auburn, the Egg Bowl, Texas, Oklahoma, obviously on the schedule. But obviously, depending on how you do it, some of that stuff just may not be possible. Maybe you only get Georgia, South Carolina once every couple of years. Maybe you only get Florida, LSU once every couple of years. If you go the pod system, maybe you only get Auburn, LSU once every 3 or 4 years. So I think some of that stuff, again, as you get bigger, some of that goes by the wayside. And I think that will be a little sad to see some of that have to be pushed aside in the name of expansion, obviously a bigger conference at that point.
What we prioritize as big time games, you're gonna find out real quick once Texas, Oklahoma make their way over to the SEC. I do think that the Egg Bowl stays intact. You cannot get rid of the Iron Bowl. I don't even think Greg Sankey would even talk about getting rid of Georgia, Florida, Georgia, Florida, however you want to look at it. And they add, BJ, as you mentioned, Texas, Oklahoma. They add them the Red River rivalry. Something else, BJ, me and Kevin was saying was, okay, right now Texas, Oklahoma is played in a neutral site in the state of Texas. I think, if I'm not mistaken. How soon does that come to Atlanta? Because I think at the end of the day, no matter what, even though we're talking about 2 huge brands, Texas is the bigger brand. Oklahoma is the better brand of football. I just think that for me, I'm looking forward to some new traditions. I know that we are traditional. Kevin, me and BJ are like you when it comes to SEC brands, like you are with baseball. Listen, bat flip and all that kind of stuff, get them out of here. Or do it, or serve them some justice in between them ribs. I just think for me, I'm looking forward to some new traditions coming, but you got to preserve some of the old traditions as well.
And I do think, guys, there's a chance to maintain a lot of it. And we talked about it, the possibility of an SEC East that has 8 teams and an SEC West that has 8 teams. And in this kind of idea that I've written about, Kevin, hear me out here. In the SEC East, you have 8 teams. You have Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, South Carolina, Tennessee, Vanderbilt. Then in the West, you have Arkansas, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Oklahoma and Missouri, Texas and Texas A&M. And not only is that geographically relevant, but in the East, you keep the Iron Bowl, you keep Florida, Georgia, you keep Tennessee's rivalry with everybody, Tennessee, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama. You keep Georgia, Auburn. Then you go over to the West and you keep the Egg Bowl. You keep the Red River Showdown. You keep LSU, Arkansas. I think there's merit to this. And keep in mind, if you have 2 8-team divisions, I keep saying that wrong, 2 8-team divisions, well, you're not playing yourself. So you have 7 division games you play every year, and that would give you the ability to play 2 cross-division games in a 9-game conference schedule, which would mean you could have a common opponent if Florida wanted to make that LSU, or if there's a historic series that needs to be maintained, and still have a rotator that moves every year. So I think there are a lot of possibilities, and we're still learning, we're still kind of speculating. But to me, I think there's merit in the idea of keeping it as it is, move Alabama and Auburn over to the East, and have and for folks who would say, oh my gosh, the balance of power would be so crazy. Well, understand that if you build a super conference, you're going to have super divisions. But under this setup where I had Alabama and Auburn in the East, and I moved Missouri to the West with Texas and Oklahoma, those 8 teams in the East, in this theoretical East, those 8 teams won 45 games last year. The 8 teams in the theoretical West won 47, pretty close. And if we look at this format through last season's final rankings, the quote SEC East would have had 3 top 20 teams, Alabama, Florida, and Georgia. And the quote SEC West would have had 3 top 20 teams in Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and Texas. So I think there's competitive balance. There's a geography that makes sense. And I think you could maintain a lot of the rivalries. I would take a good hard look at this 8-team, 2-division format.
I'm looking forward to all of it. I really, really am, BJ. I mean, who knows? You know, and something I said, with this many teams and this much leverage, they could do your system one year, BJ, go to a quad system next year, switch it. I mean, I think you got so many options because bigger than the schools, outside of Coach Day at Ohio State and Coach Harbaugh at Michigan, you got the highest paid coaches in college football in the same conference. If you and we talking about realignment. What about renegotiation? Greg Sankey, he's got to be sitting around saying, man, what do I charge to be the overseer of this? Nick Saban, Dan Mullen, Kirby Smart, Coach O, Jeff Fisher. Now you're going to add Lincoln Riley. I mean, you added Coach Sarkisian. Sark went from Atlanta to Alabama to Texas to come right back down to the South again to be a part of the Southeastern Conference. I mean, it's going to be star-studded because no matter what, when you talk about brands, is there a bigger brand than Texas? I'm talking about Texas has star-studded alumni like the Miami Hurricanes. They got deep pockets as far as as far as people that usually those oil, people that got oil and oil money people and things of that nature. Had Bo Scaife on earlier, and he said, he's really looking forward to it. BJ, something else we didn't think about. SEC Network, Vince Young, on the set. I mean, former Oklahoma Sooners, Bob Stoops. I guarantee you he's finna find a way to not coaching, but he's an analyst right now, I think, for Oklahoma. How much is this gonna cost him to, take off the Oklahoma Sooner hat and put on a suit and tie? I'm just saying the SEC, they're gonna be able to control whatever they want to control. And Atlanta, what about this for a kickoff? Atlanta, the Red River rival will be the kickoff of the 2023 season. And it's gonna be crazy, but the Rich just got much richer. Shout out to Greg Sankey, Mark Emmert. This is what happened when you control stuff. You get out front. I mean, Mark Emmert, he up there doing congressional hearings. He can't even, I'm just saying, but shout out to the SEC for getting it right.
They are getting ready to get bigger. When will it happen? We'll have to wait and see. The paper says 2025. Ain't no way that we make it that far. We've got more to come. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Great to be here with you on this Friday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you were with us. Trade deadline's been very, very active today. Adam Duvall, Brian Sticker saying if the plane lands in time, he's in the lineup tonight in left field, starting it out. So I believe he is in air from wherever the Marlins were to get to the Braves right now. So if he makes it in time, he is in the lineup. So he's got roughly, about 2.5, about an hour and a half, maybe. I'm trying to do this math.
No, Kevin, we never do math live on the show. We never do that. None of us ever.
And that's why, because we sound like an idiot when we try to do that. But no, we'll get to that coming up in just a little bit. But Ben and I were joking earlier, BJ, it's kind of funny, 14-0 on the vote. And then you see all the schools like, oh, we couldn't be happier about, Oklahoma and Texas coming in. And I forget who it was. One of them posted the Bruce Willis from Die Hard. Welcome to the party, pal. Like everybody's all like, oh, it's great. I wonder how behind the scenes this is going over. And will, as I kind of joked about, $50-60 million in a wad of cash make those feelings a little less hurt if you're Texas A&M and you have to stomach your big in-state school coming into the league with you.
I mean, I think there is excitement, throughout, because you're talking about two of the most iconic brands and, biggest fan bases and best programs. In terms of their recent teams haven't been great, but you still have a national championship, 15 or so years ago. So you're talking about just iconic leading brands in college football. And it's remarkable to think about them being in the SEC. But I will say this, and this goes back to, Kevin, I do remember some of the things you say, believe it or not. And for a long time, you have always said about the SEC, well, you can't say it's the best, biggest, toughest, most difficult conference. Every week is, just a battle, but we expect to go 12-0. The harsh reality is somebody has to lose. And when you're in a conference where everybody's got an 80,000 seat stadium, everybody's paying their coach $3-4 million or twice that, every alumni base and fan base thinks they should be competing for the SEC title. That's not realistic. And I'm not here to say who is going to be, kept out of contention or who might be disappointed. But the reality is, whether it's 2023 or 2025, the toughest conference in college football just got tougher. And I think if you're Alabama, you probably feel like, yeah, we'll beat whoever we line up against. But if you're a South Carolina, if you're an Ole Miss, and maybe you've been in the middle of the conference, you've had a couple of years where you've been close, maybe, and I'm not saying the teams look at it like this or the programs, because I expect everybody on every roster to feel like they can win every game. And I think there's truth to that. But from a fan's perspective, right? Because we all do this, Ben. We look at the schedule and go win, 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 loss, win, and you kind of set yourself up for failure. Well, when this schedule comes out and you got 9 SEC games, and if you're South Carolina or you're Florida, you play Clemson and Florida State also, and are we going to have to get a whole lot more used to 7-5 than we have been? I think we're going to have to adjust our expectations a little bit.
Yeah, but rightfully so though, BJ. But then when you start Steve Spurrier is already on the prowl, right? A couple of days ago, or I think yesterday, he was like, well, Texas might as well come over to the SEC. They can't even win the Big 12. What's the likelihood of Texas winning the SEC? Very low. What's the likelihood of Oklahoma winning the SEC? Very low. What's the likelihood of Texas and Oklahoma providing exciting games? Very high. Because the consolation prize in college football is to play Alabama. You want to know how good you are? Play Alabama. Who's the last team to beat Alabama in the SEC and won the national? That would be Florida. A long time. No, I'm sorry. That would be LSU. I apologize. But what's up? I apologize. I do those type of things from now and again.
Man, you're always trying to hype up the game.
No. But
you're going to be fine this year.
But I will say this, BJ. If you're going to add, it better be Oklahoma and Texas. If you want to add to the prestige, it better be Oklahoma and Texas. If you want to boost the reputation of your league, you're going to add Oklahoma and Texas. And I will say, BJ, everybody be thinking, well, they went 8-5 in the SEC. They should make the college. No. Nobody told them to do this. See, all 8-5s aren't created equal. Once again, this will always come down to your bottom feeders. You're going to need Vanderbilt to play better. You're going to need Arkansas to play better. I don't know if that's going to happen, but as far as like being star-studded, something else me and Kevin talked about. Excuse me, me and BJ, Bryce Young, DJU, JT Daniels, California boys. They play at Alabama, Clemson, and Georgia. So you talk about being able to get the top 300 players in high school. How many of them are going to be represented in the SEC now? Because with the young man Quinn Ewers, the number 1 recruit going to Ohio State better be lucky that this ain't happened 2 years ago. I guarantee he wouldn't be going to Ohio State if Oklahoma and Texas was already in the SEC. So it's already a monopoly. It's about to get even rough for college football. I mean, if your team ain't in the SEC, don't get mad at us. Get mad at your commissioners and chancellors.
Well, yeah. Look. To that end, this is the question I'm asking, and I'm not even suggesting there's a right answer. I'm just asking it. If you're a Georgia fan, and yes, obviously being in the SEC is incredible, but let's say you have a season in a couple of years where you have Alabama on the rotation, you have Oklahoma, you already play Florida, maybe you get LSU, who knows, Georgia Tech, maybe back to competing for ACC championships in a couple of years. We all love having Oklahoma in the league. Here's my question, Kevin. Saturday evening after you lose to Oklahoma, do you still love having Oklahoma in the league?
I guess the SEC, they circle the wagons around that better than most fan bases. I mean, there is no love lost for, say, like Duke basketball and the rest of the ACC. They're like, yeah, that's ridiculous. But, yeah, I mean, I think that's one of those things where the league is going to be tougher. I think to just think you're going to roll the footballs out and go 12-0 or even 11-1 a lot, that's going to be difficult unless you just get a favorable draw, because I do think the SEC is probably going to go to that pod system where you really only have 3 consistent games and everybody else is on a road. So, I mean, to say that you could get Texas, Oklahoma, LSU, Ole Miss all in the same year, so yeah, that's very likely that it could happen. And it's going to be tough. So, maybe, again, if we go to a 12-team playoff, maybe it doesn't matter as much. Maybe you just bolster your resume and say, look, yeah, we lost. And as you said, you reset the expectation, say, well, instead of 12-0, we really can't be much worse than 10-2, 9-3. And if we played the hard schedule, the SEC will probably still have an opportunity to be there to play it at the end. So, again, I think it's going to be interesting to see how you adjust expectations once the league gets to that point. And as we get ready to take a break, when do you think this realistically happens? I know it says 2025. I know we've had guests on the show say it could happen next season. I know ESPN has been accused of trying to destruct the Big 12 at this point, but obviously there's financial incentive for the Big 12 to go away. There'd be financial incentive to go ahead and make this happen as soon as possible outside of a buyout situation, which when you renegotiate these deals is probably a pittance of what monies you'll be bringing in on the backside. How quickly do you think this happens, and what % chance would you give that it actually makes it to 2025 before this gets executed?
I would be extremely surprised. If I had to guess, I would say 2023, because I don't think when you talk about Oklahoma or Texas or whatever having to pay this amount of money, I don't necessarily think that's a problem, especially moving in to the SEC. And then think about this. It's not only can you make the contracts work, can you make, the timing work, the logistics are you going to have Texas and Oklahoma playing in a league where everybody hates them, where they're kind of, they're on the way out for 4 years, not 1 year, but 2, 3, 4 years, where you understand that you're playing these quote conference games with an understanding that you're only doing it because you absolutely have to, and you don't want to be here and you don't want to be a part of this league? Is that going to last for 4 years? Maybe it can, but my guess would be 2023.
My guess would be 2022, and I'm going to tell you why. I mean, Kevin, the thing about it is this. We didn't even know that this was going on, right, for a whole year. And look how, just like that. I mean, when you go roll it out, SEC Media Days, with who? When the Alabama comes, when Nick Saban is on the podium? What? And all I'm saying is buyouts happen all the time. Having to be able to pay back money happens all the time. Maybe not this much money, but that's why you put it a year out. The one thing I do know is Greg Sankey is behind the scenes saying, man, how do we make this happen sooner rather than later? So you telling me you're going to tell me something that's going to happen 4 years later in the SEC? That doesn't happen nowhere. I mean, we'll see you guys in 2025. No, the only thing that's going to happen in 2025 is all these out-of-conference games that they've been announcing since 2019, 2020, and that was to kind of show us what was coming. If the SEC, because of the pressure that's going to be on them, Texas, Oklahoma ain't never wanted to be in the Big 12, but because they know it's top-heavy, and who do they have outside of them? I see them trying to make a move to get them in 2022. It's not going to be a welcome move, but money exchanging hands happens all the time in the SEC. And like I said, I mean, if you're Texas, Oklahoma, how much do you help facilitate that as well?
Yeah, we actually see how quickly this all gets moving. We've got more to come here. Busy day for the Braves. They've got the Brewers coming up. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you here, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad you're making us a part of your day. Braves have been very busy today, ahead of the trade deadline. Eddie Rosario from the Indians comes in a trade. Adam Duvall for Alex Jackson comes in a trade with the Marlins. Jorge Soler from Kansas City coming in. And Richard Rodriguez, the closer from the Pirates, comes in exchange for basically Bryce Wilson. So the Braves getting themselves a whole lot better for not a lot of capital at the end of the day, BJ and Ben, and could have Adam Duvall in the lineup tonight as the game starts in left field if he can get there on time. So a big day for Alex Anthopoulos coming up here tonight after what has been a huge day at the trade deadline.
All right, I got a prediction for you guys. If Duvall's in the lineup tonight, he hits a home run. He goes deep. Duvall goes deep tonight.
Bold prediction, BJ Bennett, but we'll see. I mean, Jorge Soler, I think Brian Sticker saying they expect all of them in these trades to be in the lineup by Saturday, but could have Adam Duvall tonight. So we'll wait and see. Appreciate y'all joining us. Obviously here on the show. If you missed any of the show, ESPNCoastal.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our YouTube channel, on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. We'll see you Monday here on 3 and Out.